Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video, and today we are taking a look at the Marvel Legends Nightcrawler from the recent X-Men and Wendigo Build-A-Figure wave. Here we have Nightcrawler displayed in the front window, and he has all of his extra accessories, heads, and things like that in the packaging. On the side, we do get some very cool looking artwork here of Nightcrawler in mid-teleportation, and it is actually going to be the same artwork on both sides. On the back, we do get an expanded shot of that artwork, which is actually very well done. I like that a lot, as well as all the other figures needed in this wave to complete the Wendigo Build-A-Figure. And then there at the top next to the artwork, we do have the read-up. With sticky hands, a sharp tail, and piercing yellow eyes, the troublemaking mutant Nightcrawler scales walls and teleports from place to place. And at the bottom, we do have the UPC code, so you can check with your local retailer to see if they have this in stock. But enough about that, let's get this open and take a look at Nightcrawler. And here is Nightcrawler outside of his packaging, and I have to say I'm very excited for this figure. I've been wanting a Nightcrawler figure for some time, and Hasbro really knocked it out of the park here. We get some really great accessories with the alternate heads. We get some great articulation, which is a must-have for a figure like this that is meant to be very acrobatic. There are some minor complaints and a few of your standard flaws that you find with, for example, paint details and things like that you would find with mass-marketed products like we get here with the Marvel Legends. But still very excited to get this figure, and I think it came out looking great. Now, when standing straight up, Nightcrawler is coming in at 6 inches, which makes him 15.2 centimeters. So he is your average 6-inch height, which is perfect. He is a little bit more of a slender character anyway, so I think that is good. He does come with a Build-A-Figure piece for the Wendigo Build-A-Figure, which is the arm here. But we'll take a look at that once we put Wendigo together. So first we're going to take a look at some of the accessories that Nightcrawler comes with, and then we're going to get a better look at the head sculpts and the figure itself. Inside the packaging with Nightcrawler, we do get those alternate heads, which we will take a look at here in one moment, which leaves us with his sword and his alternate hand. So starting first with the sword, we can see the same weapon used with the Citizen V figure that we got, but it is a well-done sword, and it fits the character quite nicely. I have the old Toy Biz version that came with this. But we can see that he has the molded plastic in the gold, which unfortunately leads to a few paint issues right out of the packaging on mine, where I do have some of the silver paint that has rubbed off, so that is a little bit of a disappointment. Now, in the packaging, Nightcrawler does come with a gripping hand, which will work its way onto the handle of the sword. You might have to heat up the hand a little bit to get the fingers around the hilt or around the grip there, but I don't think it'll be too much issue. I actually didn't have to heat it up. I was able to get it on there without too much problem. And then that does leave us with the alternate hand, which is the open gesture hand meant to replace that sword gripping hand. And I think that is a good inclusion because, of course, some of the various poses that we're going to have Nightcrawler in is going to have him reaching out, jumping, or just otherwise having some open gestures. I think it would have been cool if we would have gotten at least one fist, but I can deal with this. Let's go ahead now and take a look, though, at those alternate head sculpts, and then we'll get a better look at Nightcrawler. And included inside the box, we get these 3 fantastic looking head sculpts, starting first with the calm, neutral expression, followed by the smiling, fangs showing Nightcrawler, and then last we get the very aggressive looking Nightcrawler with that dark shading throughout the top half of the head sculpt. And I think all 3 of these actually look great, and I think it's awesome that Hasbro gave us 3 possible ways to pose this figure, so I'm really happy about that. You will notice that they all have the same hairstyle, which is part of what Hasbro has been doing lately, where they have the head sculpt and the hair sculpt separate, and then they glue the hair onto whatever head sculpt they're doing. And I think that is just nothing wrong with that way of doing the figures. I think it's going to open up some possibilities for them to maybe start doing some more head sculpts for us. So I think that is actually very nice. And even though they have the same hairstyle, I really like it. It looks good. I like the blue shading that we do get at the top. The only downside that I have for this method with the separate hair and the separate head sculpt is on occasion it can leave some gaps where the glue either didn't fully adhere or just the hair didn't get fully pressed into place on the head. So that can be a little bit of a downer, but otherwise it does actually look better, I think, when it's done well, because it does make it look like just the hair is more, I don't know, it's more three-dimensional, I guess, when you can actually kind of see the hairline. So I think that looks good. Let's go ahead now, though, and take a look at the rest of the figure. So getting a better look here at the body sculpt for Nightcrawler, we can see that Hasbro went with a very slim and slender body sculpt, and I think that is great. It's very befitting of the character, so I think that is a good choice. One of the things you will notice as well, they did this with the Colossus figure. We have a separate piece here for the shoulder pads and the pieces coming down through the chest. That is done so that I can assume it's done anyway, because we still have a little bit of flexibility in these shoulder pads so that they flare out and it's not a hard plastic. And that was the same thing that we had with Colossus with some shoulder flares as well. The only downside with this is it does leave the potential for similar glue lines and gaps where the glue might not have adhered well in the chest piece. And that goes for the back piece as well, where you can see some of those lines of separation also. But one other benefit of this is that since this is actually a separate piece, that means it's molded in the red. It's not actually painted, so you don't have to worry about any paint lines or anything like that on there. Now, speaking of paint lines, unfortunately, this figure is not without a few flaws. On the back of one of the hands, I did have where the red paint did not quite line up, which is something that we've seen before with some mass market figures. On one of the legs, we can see the overlap of the red on the black, so you can see the black kind of bleeding through there. And then out of nowhere, I have a little bit of a silver splotch on the thumb of one of the hands. I assume it's from the sword. Not a big deal, but it's just a little bit of a mark there. And aside from that, when we look at the rest of the figure, I don't really have too many other complaints. I think the body sculpt was very well done. I don't think I had too much more paint issues anywhere. So yeah, I like that a lot. We get the other open gesture hand over here, so that looks very nice. And of course, wouldn't be Nightcrawler without the tail, which unfortunately is not any kind of bendy wire. It does rotate around back there, so you can try to do some different poses and have it in some different places if you wanted to, but it is going to be in this position. Now, you might be able to heat it up and mold it if you wanted to. I'm not going to do that because honestly, I think it looks fine the way it is, and I think I'll be able to get it into the positions that I want. But one last thing I did want to show is we do get some very awesome, very well sculpted Nightcrawler feet with those two big toes sticking out, so I think that was really well done as well. Now, looking at the articulation, we do have a head that can go all the way around, and not a whole lot of wiggle on any of those heads, but there is a little bit there. You have a chin that can get buried pretty deeply down into the chest, and he can look up quite a ways as well, but he does get a little weird bulge there, but he can look up quite nicely. You have arms that can come up quite a ways. They don't get impeded by that shoulder at all. You do have full rotation on the arms. You also have a butterfly joint underneath there, although it doesn't have the same range as some of the other butterfly joints because it does get stopped by that piece there. You do have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and then you do have rotation and a hinge on all of the hands. And I will point out on his gripping hand for his sword, he does have the hinge here versus the palm-facing hinge, so he has it positioned the other way. So I just want to point that out. He has a very deep ab crunch going forward and very deep going backwards. He does have waist rotation. He has legs that can come apart very far. I like that a lot. He can kick forward quite a ways, backwards a little bit, upper thigh cut, double jointed knees, very deep double jointed knees, no type of boot cut, which is fine, but he does have a hinge and ankle pivot. And that about does it for this review, everyone. And before I go into the figure, I have been trying something a little bit different here with this review. You'll notice some of the different editing techniques and things like that. Let me know what you think of that, guys. If it's something that you really liked and want to see more of, then I want to give it to you. It does take me a little bit longer to record and edit, but if it is worth it for you guys, please let me know in the comments or hit that like button to let me know that you really enjoyed this new concept that I'm doing for the video. Now, with that being said, this figure is a great figure. Hasbro really nailed it, and I think it was great that they gave us all the head sculpt choices, and then we get some great articulation as well, so that we have some good posing options with this figure. And really, that alone is enough to make this worth picking up, aside from the fact that it's Nightcrawler, and if you don't have a Nightcrawler, this is a great one to pick up. I have seen the old Toy Biz Nightcrawler, and I think this one blows it out of the water, so I'm pretty sure that I'm going to see a lot of people getting rid of that old Toy Biz one and replacing it with this one. But again, with that being said, that is it for the review, everyone. So leave that like if you like the video. Make sure to subscribe for more content just like this. And aside from that, thanks for stopping by and watching my video, and have a great day.